joining us. We're out here at Forest Park High School. Head coach Daniel Bruton. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. Are you going into your fourth season?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what's different this year from last year?
Our seniors in every class below that, no other coach at Forest Park besides me. We've got a little bit of a new staff, turned over a little bit, but we've got some guys that have kind of bought into the way we want to do things here, so the culture is starting to grow. That's a tribute to some of the guys in the past that I've coached, but they kind of set the foundation, but these guys know no other thing besides the culture we're trying to build here.
And what's the most important thing for you as far as the culture goes? What's the most important thing for you?
Relationships.
Okay.
The brotherhood, we talk about family a lot, and we're trying to show that. The coaches try to show that with our friendship and our bond, not only at practice, but also outside of football. Something that I've done every year that I've been here, but also allowing our coaches and families to come to practice, to come to workouts, trying to do stuff with the coaches and their families outside of here, just trying to build that overall family feel.
Now, you come from North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
So what's the biggest difference for you coming from North Carolina, coming to Virginia, coaching football? What's the biggest difference for you?
Well, I was coaching 1A football down there. The high school I was at was, my alma mater, and there were 700 kids in the whole high school. So coming up here, where you're 2,000 plus, and the other thing, down there, we were fortunate with athletes everywhere. So there would be weeks where it felt like you were, Alabama playing, a FCS team where, just by the athletes versus their athletes, you were going to win. Up here, it's almost like you're in the SEC. Every week, you don't get a week off. Even teams that you feel like you should beat, they always give you a test, and you can't take a week off. You can't take a playoff. You have to compete all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a coach, I know it's got to be great having a lot of competition around here, but that part of it has got to be difficult. But what's the most difficult part about coaching up here for you?
Probably the transfers, the specialty programs, those things that, that a kid could be with you one year and then not with you the next, or you could get a kid that was at a different high school and they move into you, and just trying to get them to learn the new things. And then also being in the area around DC, there's a lot of people that move in from out of state, and kind of trying to blend all the culture they're used to the culture you're trying to cultivate here. So that's probably the most difficult thing. Where I'm from, you had feeder programs. Your little league fed into your middle school fed into your high school, and you pretty much ran the same thing from the time you were playing ankle biters until you graduated high school. So that's also difficult here, that there's no true feeder program, so you're teaching these kids from scratch every time they come to you.
Now, there's a lot of competition right within a small area here. I mean, you got Freedom right up the road, you got Hilton right down the street. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. How do you keep your team focused on the goal at hand and not comparing themselves or thinking about getting caught up in social media stuff with those other programs?
It's been a challenge, especially with some of the players that we've had in the past. It's always comparing or wanting to know why he's got offers or why he's blowing up and they're not. And it's just all about controlling what you can control. Your effort and your attitude are the two biggest things. And then trying to get guys who think they get to go to practice instead of they got to go to practice. So we do a lot of talking about get to versus got to. But it's just focusing on us. And, when you get to a certain level, you're going to have a bullseye on your back, and that's where you want to get to, like some of these programs have got to around here. And we had a little bit of time there, and now we're kind of under the radar again, and that's kind of where I enjoy being. I kind of like staying under the radar, being to ourselves, and then, until they get our films and start preparing for us, they don't really know what we have. So I like that part, but I try not to compare what Hilton has or what Freedom has. They have a different socioeconomic, they have different kids, they have different coaches. With Hilton, there's been ever since Bill Brown was there, there's been a culture. So that's something Forest Park has just in the recent years, the years before I got here, started to kind of get out of that 500 team and trying to get into the winning side of things. So it's trying to build that culture where in 10, 15 years people look at us like they look at a Hilton or they look at a Battlefield.
What is your goal this year? What is your goal for your team this year?
To play the best we can possibly play every game, win or lose. I can't get mad at those guys if they go out there and they play their absolute best. Sometimes I'm out-coached, sometimes we're out-athleted, sometimes they just played a little better than we did, but if we play the best we can play, I can't get upset. Now, if we go out there and we lose to a team because we played down, I'll be upset. You know, and I never like to lose. That old saying, I hate losing more than I love winning. That's how I feel. But if they give me everything they got on every play, I can never be upset with that.
And you're just coming out off the dead period today. You got a couple of weeks now. You got to get everybody in shape, get everybody right. What are the goals for the next couple of weeks before you get pads on and all that stuff?
Well, right now, and kind of our focus in the summer, you know, the spring and winter we do a lot on bulking up and getting stronger. In the summer, we're trying to get acclimated to the heat, and we're trying to get our legs and our lungs in shape. So, you know, we're doing a little bit more running than they're probably used to. That's so when we get into 2 days and our summer practices, the running doesn't kill them, and we always want to be the most in shape team in the fourth quarter. So I think you can win some ball games you might shouldn't in the fourth quarter if you're more in shape than the other team.
How much easier does that guy make your job?
He's phenomenal. I mean, it's always great to have one of your best players be one of the most humble kids and one of the hardest working kids. We were talking about him today, doing a running. You can't break him. You can't even crack him. There's nothing you can do to him that'll make him crumble. So he's phenomenal.
I seen him play. He doesn't play like he's humble. He doesn't play like that's what you want. You want a guy humble off the field and killing people on it.
He's a pleasure, and I got a few of those guys that are just a pleasure to coach. And he's going to be a leader for us this year. And you know, I hope I get 5, 10 more like him every year because he makes it easy.
There you go. Well, I appreciate you giving us a couple minutes today.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get out here and see you guys this season.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.